Let's talk about Guided by Voice's Fast Japanese Spin Cycle. Released in 1994 on a label called Engine, this EP gives us what we've come to expect from a Guided by Voices EP. A lot of songs packed into a 10-minute runtime. Fast Japanese Spin Cycle actually has 8 tracks on it, which is a lot to pack on a 7-inch. Third World Birdwatching is a weird little throwaway track. It's credited to Bob, his brother Jim, and Pete Jameson, their manager, and it sounds very much like Bob was just improvising lyrics over someone else playing a little song on a piano. My Impression Now is a Guided by Voices staple. They played it live a bunch. It's the type of track you think of when you think of mid-90s Guided by Voices. Volcano Divers, Snowman, and Indian Fables are all short little acoustic songs. Indian Fables is really pretty in the Wandering Boy Poet, Jar of Cardinals kind of way. Now, the last 3 tracks on this EP are where it gets kind of interesting because they're all revisiting past Guided by Voices material. Marchers in Orange is a rocker with distorted guitars. Taken in isolation, it's a solid song, but I prefer the weird atmospheric version that was on Vampire and Titus. It had that weird eerie chord organ that I think was pretty cool in comparison to the full band version. Dusted is another track that was on Vampire, but it takes a different approach and it actually strips a full band song down, and it's just Bob singing over an electric guitar, and then a second electric guitar comes in later playing lead. I think I might prefer this one. Bob's vocals are clearer, and I think the stripped back instrumentation and the weird lo-fi vibe give it an intimacy that I like from Guided by Voices material of this period. Kisses to the Crying Cooks is the last track. Once again, it revisits old material. This one's actually a precursor to the Propeller track Over the Neptune Mesh Gear Fox. This song has the same melody and a lot of the same lyrics, but there are a lot of differences. There are a lot of subtle lyric changes, and there are segments of lyrics that never made it to the Propeller version. It's very cool to see a different take on that song. I haven't talked about Guided by Voices shit-canned albums yet, but I probably will at some point. Basically, there's a bunch of albums that were supposed to come out but didn't, and then Bob reconfigured them. So this track was actually meant to be on an album from 1992 called The Corpse-Like Sleep of Stupidity, which obviously never came out, although many of the tracks on that record would eventually find homes on Propeller, Vampire and Titus, a bunch of EPs, as well as the Suitcase series. Also, a note for this series, I might not be 100% accurate on the order that I'm doing these small label EPs that came out in 1994. It's actually surprisingly hard to find the exact release date, and I'm finding a lot of conflicting information. So it's possible I have the order on some of these wrong, but they came out relatively around the same time. So I'll be talking about Get Out of My Stations next.